Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and Donald Trump isn't just giving a historic speech here. What's happening between South Africa and the United States is about to change the course of world politics. Let's dive in.
President, we welcome white Afrikaner refugees here. Can you explain to Americans why it's appropriate to welcome white Afrikaners here when other refugees like Afghans, Venezuelans, Haitians have all had their protected status revoked?
Well, this is a group, NBC, that is truly fake news. They ask a lot of questions in a very pointed way. They're not questions, they're statements. We've had tremendous complaints about Africa, about other countries too, from people. They say there's a lot of bad things going on in Africa, and that's what we're going to be discussing today. When you say we don't take others, all you have to do is take a look at the southern border. We let 21 million people come through our border, totally unchecked, totally unvetted. They came from all over the world. In many cases, they're criminals. They come from prisons. They come from mental institutions. They come from street gangs. They're drug dealers. So don't say that we didn't take them. We take them. We're trying to get them out as fast as we can. And we're doing record business on that. And we just won a big case where we're allowed to send back hundreds of criminals to Venezuela. Just won that today in the Supreme Court. I'm happy to hear. But we do have a lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of people, especially since they've seen this. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up, yeah.
Y'all, it's always a good day whenever Trump is dunking on the mainstream media, particularly NBC. And that's exactly what this reporter is trying to do. He's trying to see if he can drive a wedge in between the president of South Africa and the president of the United States. Folks, at a certain point, there's a difference between being mischievous and being outright malicious. Okay? The media, for the most part, is absolutely malicious. And then we got to take a look at the president of South Africa. His body language says, I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying this. He was even laughing about the resettlement of Dutch Afrikaners being settled here in the United States. He's not laughing because, I'm laughing at their plight. He's laughing at the stupid, ridiculous, just absurd reporter's question that's asking about, why do you only want refugees from South Africa? And Trump could have turned the tables even worse, but he stayed as diplomatic as he can because this dude wants to make a deal. All right, if you were looking back at the headline, you'll notice something very, very interesting. That's why I framed this video as this is going to have huge ramifications for world politics. South Africa sits on literal gold and diamond mines. They have a whole bunch of rare earth minerals. Same thing with Ukraine. Funny where China is trying to dig in and see where they can take as much as they possibly can. They've been trying to take over Africa. They have taken over something called the Belt and Road Initiative, and it's basically a reopening of the Silk Road. And what they're wanting to do is take away any influence from the West they possibly can and put it in their own backyard. So what the Chinese Communist Party will do is they'll pull into a country that's needing some extra infrastructure help as the third world continues to develop. And they'll say, if you give us rights to X, Y, and Z, we'll give you your infrastructure. Well, Donald Trump is now heading off that nonsense, and there's a reason that the Chinese are now scrambling, trying to come to the table with Donald Trump, not just because of the tariff war, because they know what this dude is capable of. They know that Donald Trump isn't messing around. He's not Joe Biden, where his brain has been effectively turned to mush since late 2021. I'm glad he's in retirement. But that man, by the way, I'm currently reading Original Sin. Yeah, it was worse than what we already knew. It was bad, what was going on with Joe Biden. And the Chinese didn't respect him for a single moment. But they respect Trump. They fear Trump. They respect people with that kind of power dynamic, with that kind of drive, and they want to come back to the negotiating table. So Trump is outflanking the Chinese by trying to talk with South Africa. He just had a huge deal with the Saudi Arabians, entering into a new trade deal with them. And he just had a huge tour of the Middle East, where even Qatar came in hat in hand, asking for favors, trying to win Trump's favor. This is what being the top diplomat actually looks like. This is what being presidential actually looks like. And again, back to the presidential element of the president of South Africa. I'm starting to feel bad for this dude because ever since Nelson Mandela left office, South Africa has just spiraled into this corrupted state that has gone from what should have been the breadbasket of Africa to now one of the worst countries to deal with. Things are bad down there, and this president has had a bad hand dealt him. And so, of course, he's coming to President Trump. They're wanting to talk about trade deals, and that's part of the reason that we wanted to resettle these Dutch Afrikaners in order to get the attention of South Africa saying, hey, you're screwing something up. It's time for us to, go into new negotiations. Let's see if we can work out a deal here. And lo and behold, it's happening before our very eyes. And the mainstream media, places like NBC, cares more about stirring the pot. They care more about selling these ridiculous headlines than reporting on the new negotiations between our nation and South Africa. That, like I said, there's a border between mischievous and malevolence. And I think the media has just been this malevolent, this ridiculous for just a long time. And it keeps getting worse. They haven't learned their lesson. Even CNN understood that they have to let Republicans talk on their show. That's why Scott Jennings is the only one generating ratings for them right about now. Even CNN understands this, so why doesn't NBC? NBC, the reason that they're this crazy is because they know if they don't scream from the roof, Trump is bad. And if they don't scream that message loud enough, their viewers will shrivel up and go elsewhere. They're between a rock and a hard place, and it does not matter what the truth is. It does not matter what these two gentlemen are trying to hammer out. It does not matter that there is a huge problem down in South Africa where the Boers, the Dutch Afrikaners, are being quite literally persecuted by their own government because, well, they were successful. That's a problem. So no wonder we're the ones picking up the pieces that are left over, and now South Africa is coming hat in hand to negotiate new deals with Trump, and this president wants to get something done with Donald Trump. This is what we voted for. This is what it means to actually be great on the world stage again, and this is what it takes in order to save nations like South Africa. Okay? We're doing them a huge favor, and even their president was starting to get mad at NBC. So good for Donald Trump calling out this nonsense. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Till then, y'all have a good one.